Every time a truck delivers something, groceries, building materials, medical equipment, the package on your doorstep, there is a chain of decisions that had to happen before that truck ever left a loading dock. Someone had to find that load, negotiate its price, verify the broker posting it, match it to the right carrier, confirm the paperwork, and manage everything that went sideways between pickup and delivery. That person is a freight dispatcher. And if you are watching this, that job is either something you are already doing, something you are trying to learn, or something you have been seriously considering because you want to build a real income in the transportation industry without staying behind the wheel. I am here on behalf of ELDT.Courses, a federally registered training provider built specifically for the transportation industry. Today, I want to walk you through one of the most comprehensive freight dispatcher training programs available anywhere, Dispatch with Confidence, an 18-module course developed by Terry Mullins, a man who spent 10 years driving OTR Class A vehicles, and another 10 years in dispatch and driver recruiting and teaching drivers. Before he sat down to build this curriculum, this is not a course assembled by someone who read about dispatching. This is the program Terry built because the training he wished had existed when he started did not exist. So he created it himself. If you find this overview useful, go ahead and hit that like button. It helps more people in the industry find this content. And let's get into it right now. Before we walk through the course itself, it is worth understanding what freight dispatching actually is at a mechanical level, because there is a surprising amount of confusion about it, even among people already working in the industry. The U.S. freight system moves roughly 72% of all domestic cargo by truck. Behind every one of those shipments is a transaction. A shipper who needs something moved, a carrier who has the equipment to move it, and typically a broker who sits between them. The broker posts the load on a board. The carrier or their dispatcher finds that load, evaluates it, calls the broker, negotiates the rate, and books it. Now, here is something a lot of people get wrong. A dispatcher is not a broker. A dispatcher works on behalf of carriers. They are an agent of the motor carrier, not an intermediary between shippers and carriers. That distinction matters enormously, both legally and operationally. And Dispatch with Confidence dedicates an entire module to it. The functional role of a dispatcher is to maximize the value of a carrier's available hours by finding the right loads, negotiating the best possible rates, and managing everything that happens between the call and the delivery. That is the job, and understanding it as a system, named with inputs, outputs, constraints, and leverage points, is exactly how Terry designed this course to approach it. Most dispatcher training available right now does a reasonable job of covering the basics. Here is how to set up a DAT account. Here is what a rate confirmation looks like. Here is how to onboard a carrier. That information is necessary. And Dispatch with Confidence covers all of it. But there is one skill that separates dispatchers who build sustainable, growing businesses from dispatchers who burn out or lose carriers within a few months. And most training programs barely touch it. That skill is rate negotiation. Here is a concrete way to understand why it matters. A dispatcher who negotiates just 15 cents more per mile on a carrier running 130,000 miles a year generates $19,500 in additional gross revenue for that carrier annually. That is not a small number. That is the difference between a carrier who sees their dispatcher as an expense and a carrier who sees their dispatcher as an investment. And it compounds because carriers who trust their dispatcher's rateability refer other carriers, stay longer, and give that dispatcher more authority to operate. The reason most training programs skip past this is that teaching rate negotiation properly is genuinely difficult. It requires understanding market data, load-to-truck ratios, lane seasonality, the psychology of a negotiation call, and how to hold a position under broker pressure without losing the load. It is a system, and Terry spent years developing it into something teachable. Modules 7 and 8 of this course, Rate Negotiation and Advanced Rate Strategy, are built specifically to teach that system. We will come back to them in detail, but first, a brief word about the man who built this program. Terry Mullins is the founder of ELDT.Courses and the author of Dispatch with Confidence, Mastering Split Logging, A Trucker's Guide, and several other trucking industry workbooks. He held a Pennsylvania Training Manager Certificate, a CDL Instructor Certification, and is currently a registered training provider on the FMCSA Training Provider Registry. Before he built this course, Terry drove OTR Class A for 10 years. Then he spent another 10 years on the other side of the industry in dispatch and driver recruiting and instruction, which means he has made the calls, negotiated the loads, dealt with the breakdowns, and manage the carrier relationships that this course now teaches you to handle. When Terry sat down to build dispatch with confidence, his goal was straightforward. Document everything a dispatcher actually needs to know, in the order they need to know it, with the legal and regulatory detail that most courses skip entirely. The result is an 18-module program that takes you from the fundamentals of how freight moves in America, all the way through advanced rate strategy, carrier acquisition, and the growth roadmap for a dispatcher's first full year in business. Module 3 is called the Legal Framework. FMCSA, brokers, agents, and dispatchers. Terry considers it the most important module in the course. And once you understand why, you will agree. The federal government has a well-defined legal structure governing who can move freight for compensation and under what conditions. Brokers are regulated entities. They require authority from FMCSA, a $75,000 surety bond, and registration. Dispatchers, operating as agents of motor carriers, do not require that authority, provided they are operating within a specific set of constraints. Those constraints are not vague. The FMCSA published formal guidance in the Federal Register that outlines 7 factors indicating a legitimate agent relationship and 6 factors indicating unauthorized brokerage, and the penalty for crossing that line? Up to $10,000 per violation, per load, with personal liability that can pierce an LLC in some circumstances. Most people entering dispatch do not know this guidance exists. Some are building businesses right now on a legal foundation that will not hold up under scrutiny. Module 3 walks through the federal definitions word by word, what bona fide agent means under 49 CFR, what allocating traffic means, and why it matters if you dispatch for more than one carrier, and how to structure your agreements to stay clearly on the right side of the line. Included in the course is a 1-page decision tree, part of the 30-plus downloadable resources, called Am I a Broker or an Agent? You can work through it in about 2 minutes and know exactly where your business stands. The legal module is not the exciting part of this course, but it is the part that makes everything else worth doing. If this kind of systematic, detail-oriented breakdown is what you have been looking for, go ahead and drop a like on the video. It helps other dispatchers and drivers find this content. All right, Modules 7 and 8. This is where Terry's decade of dispatch experience is most directly on the page, and this is the section I want you to pay close attention to. Module 7 has 10 lessons. It is the longest, most detailed module in the course, by design. Here's what it actually teaches. The first thing you learn is how to read market data before you ever pick up the phone. DAT, Rate View, and Truck Stop Rate Insights show you what lanes have been paying over the past 7, 14, and 30 days, the average, the high, the low, and the trend. Most new dispatchers glance at this data. Module 7 teaches you to actually interpret it, what a narrowing spread means, what a rising load-to-truck ratio tells you about your negotiating position, and when data from 2 platforms conflicts, which one to weight more heavily. The second thing you learn is Terry's pre-call formula. Before you pick up the phone, you run through 5 variables: the lane average, the load-to-truck ratio, the directional trend, any equipment premium for the freight type, and the deadhead penalty if the carrier has to drive empty to reach the pickup. Those 5 inputs produce a target number. You go into every call knowing exactly what you are asking for and why, and that preparation alone will put you ahead of most dispatchers a broker will talk to on a given day. The third piece is the negotiation call itself. Terry includes a full word-for-word call script, followed by 8 specific broker objections with the exact responses that hold up in real calls. That's all the budget allows. Other carriers will take it for less. I can get it cheaper on the board right now. Each one has a specific answer, and Module 7 teaches you what it is, and more importantly, why it works.
Now you know exactly what is inside this course. The only question is whether you are going to use it. Go to eldt.courses right now. Enroll in Dispatch with confidence. The link is in the description and pinned below. Let's get to work.